Good evening, marketers. Good evening, marketers. Good evening, marketers. All right, you're welcome to the first event of the year, courtesy of the Top Marketers Club. We're going to kick off with a word of prayer, and then we're going to have a speed dating networking session of 2 minutes, 10 rounds each. And then after that, we're going to go and have tea, and then come back for the main presentation from our guest speaker since he's here. All right? So I'm going to select the lady in white, who's going to be our angel and pray for us to dedicate the day to the Lord, the evening to the Lord. Amen.
Give her black. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we humble ourselves before you this evening. We are grateful for the gift of life, for the gift of family, for the gift of friendship, and for the gift of our colleagues. Lord, we pray that whatever we are going to discuss today, that you will be with us and it will be helpful to us, that you may walk with us, go before us. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Today we have a speaker whose name I first heard on a CTA, which is cleaning the airwaves. By a show of hands, who watches on YouTube CTA? We are many. The other CTA in full stands for cleaning the airwaves, yeah? The marketer, clearly. CTA is call to action. Yeah, it's cleaning the airwaves. Clearing. Not cleaning. Okay. I'll go to say it's clearing the airwaves. So that's why I first heard his name being mentioned by another marketer, who I think we'll also need to invite as well for another hangout. They have really nice stories. I won't give you his bio. You already have it. We'd rather hear it from himself. He's been around for a while. He's worked for the big brands. And so today, we're going to learn from him on the cusp of being a marketer. I think the first thing he shared, I think when we were starting, and also the MC, Paul, was that a lot has happened in the past 2 years than in the last 100 years in the field of marketing, isn't it? And so from what guys shared, the challenges they're facing, I think Alovi can be able to help us break this curse. So I want to take this moment to welcome Alovi Andrew to take us and help us break this curse. Karibu Alovi.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come here. I see we have marketers and non-marketers alike. I know those who are not marketers because they are my friends. When you go somewhere, always carry your cheering squad. Victor, next time, if they outvote you, just go for the hike as an independent candidate. It can work. It can work. All right. It's good to be here. A little bit about myself, because I think we've not met or interacted, a couple of us. My name is Alovi Andrew. The greatest title I've ever been given in my life is that of a father of girls. Okay, I have 2 daughters. Norman also has a daughter. Norman is my friend. He flew in from Dubai just to come and watch me speak. I've known him from primary school. So we have daughters. You want him to stand up? Okay. Norman, yeah. So I've been a marketer. I've been working for about, 17 years. I've been privileged to handle a couple of brands across the continent and the world. And I'm here today to share a little bit about what I think is a problem that we can all address. When he first called me, he told me, Alovi, we want you, I think it's because of what you had on CTA. So he said, Alovi, we want you to come and tell us about your story and your career as a marketer. And I'm like, brother, you can see in this cold weather, I'm single. My story is really boring. Nobody will be inspired by it. But I thought this forum could be a nice, therapy session for marketers, because I think there are issues we face which are unique to us. And when we discuss them here, we can understand each other and see how we can help each other. And that's why I thought maybe we can discuss about what we are calling the curse of being a marketer today. Now, I think I like what the MC did earlier, so I'll do this exercise a little bit. I'll walk around, because it's hard to hit a moving object. What in your mind do you think is the curse of being a marketer in 2022? And there are no wrong answers here. What do you think? For you to be a marketer today, what will make you feel like it's a curse? Yes. The expectation that you should be a jack of all trades. Okay, that's a good one. Anyone else? Yes, George. Social media. Do you want to expound a little bit more? It's interesting, the person to your right had the same sentiment.
So one thing that, I'm trying to find the right one, but one thing that people out there believe is because there's now the existence of social media, they no longer need marketing material because social media does everything. But the one thing they don't understand is it needs intellect, it needs research, it needs proper input that will make that work. So because someone can take nice photos and post on social, and because they have 100,000 followers, they call that marketing. That's bullshit. The reason why I say this is because those people who have those followers and call themselves walking marketers don't understand nothing about what this is. All they do is post their legs, their party body,
All right.
for me, that is the biggest curse of marketing this year.
And they're taking our money. That's why I think George has spoken very passionately about it.
It's not money because they feel if they can post and they have 100,000 followers, they call themselves, gurus. They are not gurus. I know you interact with them on a daily. Please remind them every day. They are not gurus. They're just people with good phones, take photos and stuff.
All right. George, I think. Yeah.
So one question about what's the pool that they have to be able to get people to actually follow them compared to us who are marketers who are trying to get people to actually understand what we're trying to do. But we have these influencers trying to follow and make people buy into everything that they're doing. What's the one thing that they're doing that we're not doing?
That you're not. Okay.
Yeah, they have numbers. No, my
No, our question is, how did they get the numbers? How did they get the numbers?
What's the one thing that makes them look like, what's the one thing as a common Mwananchi that I'll come and be like, oh my gosh, I want to do exactly what they did.
I'll give you one influencer that I know all brands want to work with. Kim Kardashian, sex appeal.
Kenyan,
I'll give you the Kenyan sex appeal.
minor sex appeal.
Who?
Minor sex appeal.
Minor sex appeal should not have the number.
This is very good content for what I'm about to talk about. I'm loving this.
Who is maintaining without the product?
But I've interacted with her enough times to know that it's not just sex appeal that sells. It's a dream.
All right. Let me end the cat fight for now. So you need to have sex appeal for you to be an influencer or be, and unfortunately that means for you, it's gone. You can't be an influencer. Yeah. So for you, it's done. Anyway, look, guys, we all agree that a lot has changed in the last 2 years more than the 100 years before that combined, okay? Now, today, imagine you are the brand manager or head of marketing for Unilever in 1990. I think it was bliss because everything the consumer knew about your brand is what you told them. Yes. What you told them is what they knew. If the shareholders, the management wants you to drive a bit more volume, they want you to move more pieces, Well, you'll just go and tell the R&D guys, add a bit more foam in my Omo, and then it's now Omo with power foam. And nobody can dispute it. You could get away with any claim back in the day. Today, number one, you have a consumer who does not know what they want, but they also know what they don't want. Okay? They don't know what they... let me use a Netflix example. When you go to Netflix, unless you're like me, I know I'm catching up on Better Call Saul and Ozark. So you go to Netflix, all you know is you want a movie. Do you know what movie you want to watch? No. But you will see and know which one you don't want to watch. On Netflix, most of the time, it's all of them. Because you've watched everything, you know. Let's talk about an app I think most of us are on, which is Tinder. So when you go on Tinder... Okay. Let me tell you guys, for me, and it's not an excuse, Norman, any new app that comes out, I must go in and understand how it works. I might be there for a day or a year, depending. But I need to understand so that today, if an agency comes to sell Snapchat to me, I know how it works. You'll not sell me hot air. I might not be posting there. You know, I might not be posting on TikTok like they said, but I'm there. I need to understand how it works. So if you go on Tinder, all you know is you know what you want, right? If you're a dude, you're looking for a girl or another dude, depending on, you know, it's 2022, okay? But you will see and you'll know, you don't know what you want, but when you see it, you'll know, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. And that's the consumer you have today. They don't know what they want, but they also know what they don't want. They are highly informed. They can tell you about your brand that you're managing and selling, even stuff maybe you don't know. Yeah. That's the consumer today. Years ago, you could build and sustain a business on consumer loyalty, okay? 10 years ago, I only fuel at Shell because I'm loyal to Shell or Oil Libya, okay? Today, the consumer is loyal to one thing, their needs. So anyone that can meet this need in the best way possible, we're in bed. Okay? That's the psyche of the consumer you have today on one hand. Yes?
I want to ask, what is the psychology behind such brands that have been there for centuries? There was this conversation, I think, last year with Chapa Mandazi, that baking powder that has been there for centuries.
I'm surprised you went for Chapa Mandazi and you skipped Arimis.
And the battle that was there last year, now that people attacking them about changing the brand.
Yeah.
What is the psyche behind these two brands that have been there for centuries? And nothing has changed, and guys are still consuming it. I mean,
all right, cool. Park that. There is a slide that I think will address that, okay? So park that. If I get to the end and I've not, please remind me, okay? So that's the consumer on one side in 2022. On the other side, you have organizations, managers, CEOs and MDs who have an idea of what they think marketing is and what they think your job should be as a marketer, okay? This is someone who has been working for the last 30 years, so they've risen through the ranks to become MD. So the idea of marketing is what they saw their colleague brand manager doing 30 years ago. Now, I was hired to go and head marketing for a company, and I remember I hired George to come be one of my brand managers. Now, the head of marketing who was there before me, do you know what their job was? And I'm not kidding. As long as they always had T-shirts, they always had notebooks and diaries ready for anyone who needs, they are stellar performing marketers. So yeah, I sat down with guys, they're like, please make sure, and the sales guys want to go meet clients, they have things to take to them. And that's what the organization believed is the job of a marketer. You know things are changing. You know times are evolving. You think we need to do things differently. But there is the idea of what your job should be that your organization believes. And you have to struggle living in this curse of knowing what you need to do, but you're not allowed to do it. That's number two. Number three is the marketers themselves. We all agree that times are changing. Things are evolving. But are we changing? Are we evolving? As a marketer, you've always known that, if I'm launching a new brand or a new campaign, we just tick boxes. Radio, tick. TV, tick. Out of home, tick. George Rambo's influencers, tick. Facebook, tick. We get away with doing the bare minimum. We are hardly accountable for anything. Since time immemorial, marketers have been getting away with some very vague and opaque KPIs. I'll spend $1 million to build TOMA, top of mind awareness. And you'll hire, Millward Brown or whoever to go and do research, and you present numbers and say, $1 million, I delivered top of mind awareness. I remember in 2012, I was working for Airtel then. I was looking after brand assets for Africa. And so we had a partnership with Manchester United in 12 countries. And in the other 5, another telco had the deal. So we needed to sign with Arsenal in 5 countries, and Nigeria was one of them. So I went to the CMO then. He was called Olu. And I needed a few millions of dollars every year to sustain the partnership from Nigeria. And Olu asked me, so what will this thing deliver for me? And I said, Olu, top of mind awareness because people love football. And Olu asked me, okay, so young boss, at the end of the month, can I pay you in top of mind awareness? Because that's what you're selling me. Can I pay you in TOMA? So we've gotten away with such vague KPIs over time, and we're not realizing that today, marketing KPIs can actually be quantified better, they can be tracked better, and we're refusing to change. I remember when Yashinsky had just come back into the country, I think around 2016, the guy managing him, Faki, was my desk mate at Coke. We used to work with Faki, we were sitting in the same cube. And then he got a call from a marketing manager from one of the betting companies. They wanted to book Nyashinsky to go and perform at the halftime of some sevens rugby tournament. So he sat down with Faki and said, you know what, I think we have an opportunity here to create something like the Super Bowl halftime show, something stellar, And this is one of those, you're not doing it to make money, you're doing it to build a name, because Nyash was still new, So Faki called this lady back, like, so we have an idea, this is what you're thinking. Let's like, please. Come stand in the stadium, sing, and go home. Don't complicate my life, And these are the guys who are supposed to be pushing the envelope, So what's going on? And so it's a curse being a marketer today because you have a consumer who has greatly evolved. You have organizations that do not understand you. And as a marketer, you have this struggle to try and understand what's happening so that you can still stay and become relevant. So marketing has really evolved. We can agree on that, okay? I want to take a few minutes just to take you through what I think is the evolution of marketing, where it started and how we ended up where we are today, okay? While doing this, I was just thinking, imagine it's 1930 and the first ever toilet paper has been invented. It's now a new brand, it's out there, and it needs to be marketed. It's the first ever toilet paper, okay? Because before toilet paper, you were using? Leaves, okay. Great. So imagine as a marketer, how would you structure that campaign? How would you convince people stop using leaves and start using toilet paper? And leaves are free. Unless you come from Ukambani. I'm kidding, It's interesting, all right? Have a tagline like, the #1 way to do #2, Anyway. So we'll go through different eras and how we ended up where we are. The first era is what was called the production orientation era. This is from the 1800s to the 1920s. Now, this era focused purely on production. People simply wanted a lot of goods to be present and to be everywhere. And that's how businesses survived. Quantity over quality. It didn't matter if it was good or bad. If it's shoes, there's shoes, all right? And in this era, the goal was to have efficiency in production and distribution. So you can imagine businesses were built and they thrived from the 1800s to the 1920s purely on production and distribution. And this is what actually triggered the Industrial Revolution. It started in Britain and went around the world, okay? So please note, it's an era where businesses are there, they are surviving, but they're only doing 2 things. You produce and you distribute. Nothing else. Now, after some time, people realized, okay, everyone is now producing and distributing. If it is shoes, we were doing very well, but now there's 17 other people who are also producing shoes, and they have cracked the distribution code, so there's shoes everywhere. So how do we survive? And that ushered in the sales orientation era from the 1920s to the 1940s. And at this time, sales promotions and advertising were ushered in, okay? So if anyone thinks that doing a promo in 2022 is a brand new idea, I have news for you. There's some guys who had figured this out in 1920, okay? Radio, print, and TV ads really became popular because that is the sure way of driving promotions, of driving sales, okay? Now, any form of marketing came after products had been produced. You know what that means? That people will sit in their office, figure out what they think the consumer wants, they'll go and produce the product, and then they'll look for somebody from this room to go and market it. Now, I know the organization will still do that today, so please tell them they're living in 1940, where marketing came after you've done everything. So you go, make a biro or whatever it is, then look for a marketer to come and in fact, that is why a lot of organizations still don't fully understand the role of marketing. When you look at some JDs, I'm like, yeah, you're looking for a salesperson. This is not a marketing person, okay? Because this is the nature of the DNA that they have. And after some time, marketing orientation kicked in, what some people, I think even Koya still call it consumer orientation, okay? Now, this was from the 1940s to the 1970s. This is because businesses realized that we know how to manufacture, we can distribute, and then we can do sales promotions for people to buy. This entire process is just driving my interest as a business. The consumer is nowhere in that conversation. And businesses realize that focusing only on the business needs will produce a bunch of unsatisfied consumers, okay? And so between 1940 and 1970, the marketing concept was born. And for you to grow your business, these guys knew that they needed to understand the consumer needs first. 1940 to 1970. Guys had cracked that. Before you start a business, before you start a brand, you need to ask yourself, where is the consumer in this conversation, all right? And to what you had asked me earlier, when we were working with startups and people who are coming up with new businesses, we always ask the question, what problem are you solving, okay? So you're saying, Chapamandashi has never rebranded, neither has Arimis. Rebranding is solving what problem? And let me tell you, marketers are so obsessed with branding and changing logos and changing corporate colors. How many times has Safaricom rebranded? How many times has Safaricom rebranded? It's 4 times that we've not noticed. In fact, there's a day Michael Joseph changed the logo by himself. And when he was asked in a meeting, he said, yeah, because I knew if I came here, you'll debate, you'll push back, and you see, nobody has noticed. Let's move on, okay? What problem are you solving when you want to start? Because you're asking yourself, what consumer need, what consumer pain point am I trying to address? This was cracked 1940 to 1970, and in 2022, some of us still cannot do that. It's the curse of being a marketer today, that we're struggling to catch up with what people did almost a century ago. In this era, market segmentation was also born. And we all know what segmentation is. You take your consumers, put them into different buckets so you can, divide and conquer. It's easy to confuse guys who are not united, That's segmentation, all right? Is this the final era of marketing? Do you think this is where we are today? Yeah? We still evolved after that. But you can appreciate that up to here, we're still struggling with what should be the basics and fun. We've really complicated marketing over time and lost the plot. And that's where businesses are struggling, brands are struggling, Now, the next era is very interesting, and it's because people are really called out in the 60s and the 70s, is a societal orientation era. Now, we've learned how to manufacture, how to distribute, how to advertise, how to promote. We've learned how to involve marketing in R&D and product development, but then our activities are harming the environment. Our activities are having a negative impact on this very consumer, and people start being called out. And it is in this time that corporates are being conscious about their company practices, trying to be ethical. And this started from the 70s and is going on to date, all right? About 4 or 5 years ago, you saw South Africa passed this sugar tax law because they thought sugar, specifically in soft drinks, is causing obesity, okay? So they passed a sugar tax. So for every soft drink you sell that has any sugar in it, you pay tax, all right? Right here in Kenya, we've seen legislation around plastic bottles and not being allowed into parks. Across the border in Rwanda, you know what happened with plastic bags in your shopping bags and packaging for products, which I think, as usual, they implemented this better than we did. So all of a sudden, CSRs became a thing that organizations needed to focus on. CORA and CATA. CORA is corporate approval. CATA is category approval. You know what that is, right? Corporate approval is, it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do people like you as a brand? Okay? Should I bring KPLC right about now? You know? All right? So we still buy from you, but we really don't like you. And then category approval is within the category that you play in, when you compare yourself with your peers, what do people think about you, okay? So pick a category like telco. So you have Telcom, Safaricom, Airtel, Equitel. That's one category. So within this category, how much do we like or dislike them? Please don't tell me. I know the answer, all right? And the next era, which I think has really annoyed George today, is the digital marketing era. Now, this started in the, for us, it started much later, but globally, we saw this coming in from the 1990s, and this goes on to date. Now, the digital marketing era opened doors for better reach, and yes?
The way you say, we still use it, but they rebranded, but the work ethic is still the same.
I like keeping it very simple, okay? Because you use the word rebranding. So rebranding means changing your brand. What is a brand? It's not a logo. It's not a color. A brand is what the consumer says, thinks, and feels about you. That is what the brand is. So when you rebrand, it means I want to change what you think and feel about me. Now, changing the logo doesn't do that. Unless you address the problem that we have, no matter how many times your logo changes, you've not rebranded. You're running an art and craft school. Okay? So what Bolt needs to do is, this is the problem, you have rogue drivers, find a way to address it. Don't change your logo.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
The same Bolt drivers happens to be some Uber drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're driving you under Uber, they're of good conduct. So why is it when it's under Bolt, they behave the way they want?
Company processes and policies. Processes and policies. Call Uber and complain about a driver. Call Little, complain about a driver. Call Bolt and see how it will be handled. It's a thing about processes. So we know here we can get away with murder. Here we can't. It's very simple.
So
Yeah?
I was just like responding to that.
Yeah.
Actually, what someone told me, he has all the hailing taxis now. It's not even about the company policies. Because right now, if I go on the app and report, immediately it's going to be locked for a period of time. That is standard request. But it's about the payment. So they get better margins from the other hailing taxis as opposed to what they have here. So they feel like here they are being familiar so much. And still they need to give consumer the best service that they're giving to the other services with the other taxis where they're paying more.
That is true, but it doesn't address the issue of rogue drivers. It doesn't. It just affects, if I get 3 requests at the same time, it affects which one I'll accept, okay, because of the rates, okay? Norman will tell you, we did a lot of work with Little Cab in 2017, right? And we went through all those dynamics of, margins, how much per kilometer and all that, okay? So
Uber, just as an add-on to what you're saying, if you order an Uber and you have a corporate card, have you been to Mombasa? It is there, the Uber itself.
Oh, Mombasa is not a corporate card issue. It's an Uber issue.
Uber issue.
They have their own.
It really isn't the app itself. I think it's also the driver. It's a driver mentality, because how you get treated by this person who's also driving, who's using the Uber, the Bolt, and the Little Cab. If you use the corporate card, I don't know what happens.
So, okay, and it's not Uber only. Although, like, if you go to Mombasa, if you go to Nakuru, they have Wasili. I think from Nakuru down to Eldoret, where even Kisumu. Okay, cool. But you see, and I got to understand what the issue with cards is, okay? So when you pay the guy with cash, he has the money, so he owes the company. He'll pay them when he wants. When you pay with card, you've paid the company, so the company owes him. So if he doesn't have money for fuel, he'll struggle. That's why they are averse to using cards. They'd prefer to have cash clients, okay? And you know what? I mean, the funny thing is, it's something about understanding the economy that you're going to operate in, okay? If you went to South Africa, it's a credit economy. Nobody does cash, okay? When you come to Kenya, it is a cash-intensive economy. People want cash most of the time upfront, okay? So we need to understand how some of these ecosystems work so that we see how best can we, survive and thrive as businesses, okay? That you're answered? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you have all the information of what people are talking about in the market, how you perceive in the market, yeah? You're supposed to be advising your top management, so who was failing in that?
Sorry, who?
The back stops with the C-suite.
With the C-suite. Okay.
It might be.
All right.
Culture it's fairly with the CEO.
Okay.
Marketers can only influence, but if the CEO is not aligned or if the C-suite is not aligned with the culture needs, then things will never go.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you say that. And I'll come back to this just now. I've remembered, so this media house I worked for, we called for meetings to understand why are we losing our circulation numbers, okay? So we used to sell 200,000 newspapers. Now we are selling 150,000 newspapers. Where have our 50,000 copies gone, okay? The same media house commissions a printing press worth billions of shillings. In the same environment where circulation is tanking, you're sinking billions into a new printing press. Do you know, I sat down and I said, there's something these guys are seeing that I'm not seeing, because this doesn't look right at all. All right? And true to what you're saying, it didn't matter what data we presented. The printing press was being constructed. I am telling you, you're losing copies because people are shifting from hard copy newspapers. But no. You see, this printing press is going to print those tall newspapers like the ones in Britain, which you can fold. And I guessed maybe the survey that said Kenyans stop reading newspapers because they're not as big as the ones in Britain. Yeah, which you can fold into various copies. So look, I think there are a lot of people who are involved in decision making. For what I would urge you as a marketer is always make sure you're advising your organizations correctly. You may or may not be in a position to make the decisions, but make sure that when we go back and reopen the books, we'll find that you actually did use the data. But do you know, I found the definition of strategy. Strategy is an opinion informed by data. The same data set can give you 7 different strategies based on how anyone wants to interpret them. So just make sure that your opinion is better informed because of the data that you're using. All right? By the end of the day, if I'm the board, I'll fire the CEO. You're right. The buck stops with the final decision maker. But you as marketers, make sure you're advising your organizations correctly. Okay? I mean, we're talking about the role of marketing in product development. And you're saying marketers need to use that consumer insights to inform the research and development guys what product needs to be done. Problem with many multinationals, did anyone here ever taste that Fanta Zero? No, Coke Zero is perfect. Fanta Zero. Okay. It's because someone went and used pallets from, Southern Asia. And they're like, yeah, you guys have the same nuances, A guy will go and do research. A guy will go and do research in South Africa and say, we've done research in Africa. So whatever result comes from that South African research, you spin it across the entire continent, including in Egypt. So as marketers, please let us make sure you're using the right data sets and we're advising our organizations correctly, okay? Let's talk about the digital marketing era. So I'd say today it's easier to monitor and quantify campaign results. Years ago, a marketer will go and say, okay, my ad, it ran on Classic at 7:35 in the morning. And then Geopol, one of the most non-scientific research I've seen, will come and tell you, so at 7:35 a.m., you had 600,000 people listening, so 600,000 people had your ad, okay? So these 600,000 people, how many were washing or doing laundry as they listened? How many were on the phone as the radio was on, you know? Okay, but now, thanks to digital, you can have much more better, insights from the work that you're doing as a marketer, okay? Targeted advertising has now been made easier. So there is no reason why George will get an ad for Pampers unless you had a conversation with someone and Google overheard, or shavers. You can target and you get to target your spend better this time, okay? The time is coming when we'll all be watching, NTV, and the ad break is at 8:59, and we're all watching different ads because they're being served to us based on our interests. Now, consumers dictate how they want to receive marketing content. Every 3-year-old today knows how to skip ads on YouTube, okay? So a consumer will decide how I want to consume your marketing collateral and when, okay? This is the digital marketing era. And brand reputations are daily on thin ice because your consumers now have a voice and a microphone in their pocket. If I wake up today and I think this brand is trash, before, you go and write, a plan on how to respond, and then you do a whole deck PowerPoint, then you send to corporate communications, then they send, it's next week Friday, you've been dragged and people have moved, okay? And you've been canceled. Okay, so this is the evolution of marketing. And I put it to you, marketing has evolved, it still is evolving. And we're finding ourselves in this space where, I still need to remain on the cutting edge as a marketer. I need to deliver results for my business. So what can we do for us to still be relevant and not be fired and influencers hired to take up our jobs? What changes should we make so that we can adapt? I'm at the tail end of my presentation. Yes. Might want to speak up. So Dino can't hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if some of you have realized nowadays, especially on Instagram, when maybe you search, you want to buy a cloth or you want to buy shoes. After that, when you're swiping through your stories, you realize you're seeing sponsored ads on shoes. Algorithms, yeah. So what would you say about that? Is it, because actually yesterday we were having this conversation, the same conversation, and most people were commenting and they were like, this is a little bit scary because it's like these guys are using our data. Yeah, so what will you say about that?
Can I respond to that? You see, George wants to respond. I think we might want to.
Always.
Okay, let him add first.
Answer, then answer.
So I want to add something and then he will respond to all of them. One thing I've also noticed is if you're chatting with someone and you mention a particular thing, maybe a shoe or land, the next time you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, you see ads selling you the same things you were talking with someone, either on Messenger or WhatsApp or even on normal text. They will sell you ads on the same. What do you think we should do about that to prevent brands from listening to our conversations?
George, 30 seconds, please. Yeah, I'll be very, very brief. As he says, 30 seconds. So I know all of you are well aware how wealthy Mark Zuckerberg becomes every day. Yeah. And it's because of he's made Facebook business such an easy thing that anybody can do even in bed. All these phones that we carry, there are things called terms and conditions. I'm sure none of you read that. Because we don't read that, we opt into and we're roped into this logarithm of sharing information and just getting what you want. Mark wasn't stupid when he bought WhatsApp. And he wasn't stupid when he got hold of Instagram. Because in that way, he's synchronizing all this data information so that when you're chatting on WhatsApp, that information still goes online and he's able to see anything that you want. There's a good side and a bad side of this. The good side is it's eliminating influencers. The brilliant marketers who now know, how to work with data will not need influencers around. People who do know things like Eskimi and MediaPal and the likes, they are playing a very brilliant role. And the role they're basically playing is ensuring that your products are reaching those places where you think influencers can reach and they can't reach. The bad thing is this. Yeah, the bad thing is this. A lot of your information is just floating in the diaspora, into the internet space. So all the terms and conditions that you click on to yes on Instagram, and you click on to yes on WhatsApp, and you click on to yes on Facebook, I do this on a daily. I see a lot of data on a day-to-day basis. And all of you willingly give that to me because you accepted my terms and conditions. So it's made my marketing very simple because now I can reach you at any place where you are.
You might have an answer to my question. So what's Elon Musk's agenda with Twitter? Yeah.
Elon Musk is just a rich boy. He's a rich boy who's flexing his financial way. Him buying Twitter is just trying to set apart. Because, and the other thing is this, Twitter is the worst as far as behind the scenes logarithm in terms of promotions. Elon Musk has noticed something because he can't buy Facebook from Mark, but he wants to do the same thing that Mark is doing with Facebook. So soon enough, Twitter will start bothering you the same way Facebook is doing now. Because it's going to change the whole logarithm of how to monetize and what limits. So you need to be ready for that because he's doing those changes and they're going to be so annoying. There'll be a lot more promotions on Twitter. It's going to be the same thing because I know most of you now hate going through stories on Instagram, on Facebook, because all it does is promote content to you. Andrew was mentioning about a friend who lost the husband. He was seeing it today. And when the battle is already done, it's because Facebook has already made it so clear that anything Andrew is chatting on WhatsApp, he's having conversations about, is what will be presented to him. So that is where Twitter is going. So Elon Musk is just becoming wealthier as a result of buying Twitter.
Yeah, well, I just hope he brings back Donald Trump on Twitter. Okay. All right. So knowing what we know, and I think we all still want to be relevant, we all still want to keep our jobs, what changes should we make so that we can adapt? Because if you don't adapt, you will die. Change is the only constant, okay? So I think there are three things we can do. Three things, and I'll open up the floor if you think there's any other thing we can do or something I've said we can do that we should absolutely not do. Number one is you need to open up your mind to embrace change, okay? Your most brilliant idea 5 years ago could be your greatest baggage today, all right? You will wake up, and we get caught up in this cycle of we have always done this and it has always worked. This is how it has always worked. I've always hired, George, influencers, and it has worked, But is it changing? Am I open to change? Am I open to accepting and acknowledging that there could be a new way of doing this, there could be an easier way, or this does not need to be done going forward? Today, in my opinion, marketing is 60% science, 20% art and storytelling, and then 20% good luck. Yeah? So it's not about how sexy your ad was. And I always tell marketers, let's stop having sponsored entertainment and calling them advertisements. Marketing is now a science. How many of us are familiar with the hook model of marketing? Hook model of marketing. Okay? Please, if you don't take anything from me today and you still want to be a marketer, go and read about the hook marketing model, okay? You see, the hook marketing model is very simple. I just want to either encourage a habit or disrupt one. It's one of the two. So today, for me to market, I either want to disrupt a habit you have or to encourage it. How do you do that? It's research. You need to now start studying psychology. Now psychologists are going to take our jobs as marketers, okay? One of the most brilliant disruptions I've seen is by Coke in India. Now, Indians are just like us Maragolis. They drink a lot of tea. Anyone been to India before? Anyone been there? Yes. Seen they drink tea? So what Coke in India did, they started a campaign, and they said, they were asking Indians, please sacrifice 1 cup of your afternoon tea for a bottle of Coke. And it was a whole conversation, a whole thing. This is our culture, or maybe we should try. And the volume started going up because people were saying, maybe I can substitute 1 cup of tea. I mean, I'll drink 7 either way. So 1, I can substitute. Hook marketing, it's, if you can understand it, I think you'll be in business for a while. It's purely scientific. You ask yourself, when this person wakes up, I'm targeting, like everyone today targets teens. So I'm targeting teens. What's their daily ritual? How will I be part of this daily ritual? Okay. So open your mind and embrace change, because things are changing for sure. You need to admit and say, well, this is what has been happening, but there's a chance that it needs to happen a bit differently. That I can run a full campaign without a single billboard. We know you have to have billboard, but look, now it's possible, okay? Your organization, like one organization I worked for, we used to prescribe your marketing budget, 60% is traditional media. And then 30% experiential. Digital, 10%. That's how it's always been done. But I need to wake up one day and say, I can invert and do 80%. And that's what I did. I was privileged enough to lead the strategy and launch of K24 Plus a few months ago. And told the guys, yeah, you own a media house. I don't need any of your stations because this is an app. You can run it because you have free airtime. But the marketing collateral I was given, I put 70% on digital because, let's face it, it's an app, it sits on digital. I need to find you there for you to get it. So it doesn't have to be traditional that ATL, out of home, BTL, and then digital. So you need to open your mind and embrace change. Okay. Number 2, always follow the consumer. And I think that's pretty common sense. You are here because you want this person to buy from you, so it just makes sense for you to understand what they want, so you only give them what they want, okay? Brand edge is defined as a quality that is unique to your brand and important to the consumer. They go hand in hand. So it is unique to your brand and very important to the consumer. Now, today, I could come up with a new invention. I will invent a machine that can paint trees in any color in less than 5 minutes. Have you ever seen such a machine? It's very unique. But who here has a need of painting trees? You're struggling to paint trees, so you need that machine. And that's how we do with most of our products. You go and sit down and come, nobody has ever done this before. Well, maybe it's because nobody needs it. That's why it's never been done before, all right? So it has to be, much as it's unique to the brand, it needs to be relevant and important to the consumer. Follow the consumer. Insights, data needs to be your bread and butter, all right? You need to do a lot of research. You need to do a lot of learning. You need to dedicate time to understand. That's why anyone who has ever woken up next to me will tell you, in the morning I'll spend 1 hour studying and researching, because you need to follow what this person is doing for you to know how best to present yourself to them, okay? And lastly, you don't know everything, and that is? You don't know everything. Okay? You know, I think we've been put in this hole that once you've been given the tag marketer, there are things you must know how to do. For example, I can submit it to you here today. Not every marketer can manage an agency. Not every agency management is actually a capability on its own. And we agree, not all of us can do it. All right? Yeah, have you ever seen a brief sent to a creative agency and you shake your head? And you ask this marketer, this is a brief for KCC. If I remove KCC and I put Everready, the brief still works. It means you've done such a horrible job. Okay? You go and take a brief and you say, nataka kama ile, mimi ni member ya Equity, kama hiyo, you know? So we need to agree, not all of us can do briefings, not all of us can write briefing documents, not all of us can do data analysis. And it is okay. We need to agree. We can't do it, and it is okay. We are killing ourselves, we are killing our businesses because we are imposing ourselves in roles and capabilities that we cannot do. So, to your question, your organization has come and said, we are suffering, our corporate approval is down. What should we do? It's okay to say, let me get help from someone who can inform this conversation better.
I think the issue is marketing isn't recognizing a lot of our moves. The C-suite story again. Because a marketer is usually hired to be a jack of all trades. You must know a bit of finance, you must know a bit of sales, you must understand the distribution of your brand. You literally need to hold that brand by yourself, carry it to the doorstep of your customer. And that creates that challenge of not knowing everything. Because they'll expect you to know everything. They expect you to handle those agencies. They expect you to do that excellent briefing for that brand. So I think it's the C-suite once again. It sits with that, with those guys sitting at that table. So I remember when I was in my marketing class, you were always being told your first customer are your fellow colleagues. If they don't buy what you're selling, then there's no need of going outside.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge that we're seated with as marketers, especially in Africa. I think we're slightly it's like we're not recognized in a lot of spaces.
Okay. I'm going to push back on what you said, okay? So as a marketer, assume you're, the marketing manager in charge of Coca-Cola, in charge of colas, okay? Do you need to understand distribution? I didn't say if you need to do distribution. Do you need to understand the distribution? You do. Do you need to understand the value chain and the profit margins? You don't have to do it. But you need to understand, because this is your child. You need to go and tell these guys, we need to take back price. Why? But if you don't know where the profit starts, how will you have a price conversation? But we are saying, if that's not your strength, you need to acknowledge this is not my strength. It's one of two things. Either I will learn or I will get someone to cover this blind side. All right? But that is what you needs to be in your purview as a marketer. You can't run away from that. All right? Finance, you are a marketer. You need to hire agencies. So meaning you manage budgets. And your budgets are a percentage of your sales projections. So you need to know it. You don't have to do it, but you need to know it. But what I'm saying is, if you don't know, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to say you don't know. What you do after acknowledging you don't know is what matters.
Cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say Coca-Cola, for example.
Uh-huh.
Like how you market Coca-Cola in Africa is not the same way you market it in Asia.
Correct.
The US.
Correct.
So what insight could you give us?
So,
Especially in digital marketing.
okay. And that's the route we always took. When we want to justify the whole thing about one size does not fit all, we always say, in Africa, this can work. Do you know even in Kenya, one size cannot fit all? We don't need to go far. If I want to do a campaign in Kisumu for a brand, and I need to do the same brand campaign in Nyeri, there's a chance I might need to change one or two things for me to get the stickiness that I want. And that's the level we need to go down to when we're coming up with plans. One size will no longer fit all, You guys, you know about dark marketing, okay? We are getting there. So it doesn't even have to be outside the continent. Even within our country, as marketers, we need to now start going with segmented approaches to our campaigns, informed by what? data as you follow the consumer.
Especially like what the lady brought up with regards to programmatic marketing, like how algorithms are studying how we relate with different products. And they're pushing ads based on what we mentioned when we were having conversations. But now the problem comes about where the ads that they're pushing are not necessarily targeting you. So it's just spam.
Yep.
So what ways can we
The truth is, those systems are not as intelligent as you want to believe. They're trying, but they're not as intelligent, okay? I know of a person who went to visit their mom, and their mom sent them to go buy toothpaste and sent him to go buy Sensodyne. He uses Colgate, and all of a sudden he's getting Sensodyne ads. Like, guys, I was just buying for my mom. All right? So they're not as intelligent as we would want them to be or would think them to be. I mean, to be honest, in every approach that you do, you must factor in a margin of error, and that falls within that margin of error because we know there will be a margin of error. If a margin of error is anything between 3 to 6%, you're okay. If it is 40%, it's a very expensive experiment. All right? Yeah, but yeah, there'll be a margin of error. It's not perfect. As long as it's artificial intelligence, it's not perfect. There will be errors here and there. Somehow it's working. Yes, Norman?
I think just to answer or add to what you responded to. With the algorithms, definitely something is referred to as machine learning. So, and machines learn from data that is fed. Okay? So, the more you feed it information, the more they get to know and understand. And because they're machines, they don't think logically. So, in fact, Google and I think Microsoft are starting doing that in Africa now. When you see them coming here, it's not because they really love you guys.
They love our money, though.
Information that we don't have. Like Andrew said, we've joined the digital train a bit late. So there's a chunk of information that we don't have. So by coming into Africa and setting up centers, they basically work with people to perfect the algorithms. Most of the time they're 95 or even 85% to 90% accurate. They need the human touch to complete the 10%. So like Andrew is saying, a friend buys Sensodyne and suddenly they think, now you change your habit. No. They need to get that information a lot more to understand, it was a one-time purchase. But they wouldn't know that because of the machine, of the data that is fed and how it's structured. So it will still keep changing, and to be honest, machine and artificial intelligence is not going to end now. It's going to be even more complicated as the days go on. But like Andrew says, it's what you feed it is what they churn out. So if somebody asked, what can we do to make sure that we don't get ads and we don't need, go analog.
If you're not interested in that app or you don't want to ever see it again, you switch it off, which is actually now a good
And
thing.
they ask you why you're switching it.
Yeah, actually I don't go for that point. Like I don't want to ever see this.
And that's the machine learning you're talking about. So they'll ask you, why don't you? Is it because you're seeing it too much or you're not interested? When you say it's because I'm seeing it too much, okay, we'll send it, but now once a week.
That's from a consumer point of view. I'm talking now from a marketer's point of view. Yeah? Like, say in 2015, using the algorithm to target, say, a lady who uses female products, it was much easier in terms of how the algorithm is targeting people in terms of conversion. But right now, if you run a similar ad with the same location or demographic targeting that kind of same user, you don't actually get the same conversion that you were getting before. So I think that's a problem in the machine learning.
It is, and I think another thing I've noticed about the issues we face with conversions is the choice of platform, okay? Because if you do USE, Google, and then you decide to do Facebook and Instagram, it depends with what you're pushing. So some campaigns will perform much better on USE, others will perform better on Facebook. So I think the platform itself also plays a role in conversion rates. It's changed for the better, I guess. They're improving it. It's not where it was in 2015 because they've improved and enhanced it. You see why YouTube brought YouTube Kids? Because they'll go and look at Alovi's YouTube profile and they'll see alternate sound, then Cocomelo. Okay, hang on, what's happening here? So what do we serve this person? You know? So they realized that many kids were using their parents' profiles to watch. So they said, aha, so we can separate this so that we can still mine. So the algorithm is changing because it's becoming better, but it's not yet accurate, but it's better than what it was. Okay. All right, cool. Cool, we can have the conversation, just bring data. I'll bring mine.
I feel people should embrace e-commerce advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Because the data that e-commerce advertising is giving out is super accurate. I can tell you in the last 30 days, we have X number of guys who are buying FMCGs, whether it's from Unilever, whether it's from L'Oreal, and these guys. So when we are targeting that ad to those people on that particular platform, it's super accurate. Talk to me about it.
Let me tell you, that's how you shoot your shot, man. Don't leave tonight without shooting your shot for business. See you guys. All right, cool. And I think with that brings me to the end of my conversation today, unless there's any burning question. Apart from George, you've talked enough.
First of all, that's a very practical and wonderful presentation. Thank you for that. Now, from what I'm gathering with all these questions seated here, I'm hearing so much about data. Personally, I've never paid so much concentration on data. But what I'm gathering is with all this AI that you guys are talking about and analytics, what I'm trying to think is I need to start collecting data. Because you've said Google have, Microsoft, they are collecting data. So for my own business, I'm in construction myself. So I'm thinking to myself now, how do I start collecting this data so that I can segment it? Because now there's segmentation. I understand about segmentation. But now there is so much, like I need a very huge data set so that now I can be knowing who is doing what, what's the sex, what's the age, where do they stay. No, that process, now does that mean now I need to start a data science department so that now they can be collecting, cleaning, mining, doing all this analysis? Because now that's another business now I'm thinking to my head. Because now I'm collecting data, I'm wondering, now how do I start? Do I send questionnaires, surveys, and people fill these things using fake things? As I'm just wondering, going forward, it's a long-term thing, but going forward, because I think it should have been part of it, like, yes, you need data, but from someone starting a business, and we can pick a very simple business. Let me say, I don't know what is speaking right now. Let me say I just want to start a hardware business. You're coming to me for data. Now, where do I get that data? So that now you can inform, you can come up with a strategy on going forward. And that is why I think most people, especially in our industry, we operate on what has been working versus what needs to work going. And because we also copy, we see, he's opening branches in Nakuru. We do the same, and it works. So there's no data collection, no analysis. It is because I'm watching my competitor, and basically that's what we do. So we all wait and see, ule anafanya nini, and then we replicate. And sometimes it works, sometimes. But my question is, because I think data is from what I'm hearing, it's very key. Where do I start collecting that data? Things like that.
Cool. So, and I could keenly listen to some of your concerns because you're saying this data thing, is it a new business I should start? What's your name? Tom who? Moriuki. Makes sense. Now, look, first of all, I think we need to demystify data because sometimes you might think data is this very complex, sophisticated thing. Number one, anything is data. Even in hardware, you actually do have data. You just don't know it. And you've not known to tap and mine and see what you can do with it. But once you understand what data is and what it can do for you, data is anywhere. The butchery guy, can give you, in fact, ask the girls in here, they'll tell you the watchmen have a lot of data that they make use of. Now, the thing is this, one, you need to know the data that is important, because not every data is important for your business, okay? So first you need to determine which data is important for my business and important for what. So once you define that, then you'll know what data to harvest. So you're not just harvesting a lot of data that you don't need. So if you're in the hardware business, you want to understand maybe which cement brand is loved most. When do people normally buy or prefer to buy cement? There was a time when people realized that people preferred to buy cement in the urban centers and send them home because they thought it was cheaper than buying them at the market hardware that's in the market center. So there's define which data and what you need the data for. It will lead you to what, what you need to harvest and what to do with it after you harvest.
So my question was...
Yes, Morioki.
Harvesting. So if I want that data of, I need to know who is buying. Let's say I want to segment my customers with, let's say, age groups, for instance, because I want to know which age group is buying. So where do I start collecting? Do I give every customer that comes to my shop like a survey form to fill and fill in their ages? Or what are the good and ethical approaches that you can use to now collect that data so that now, with that data, now I can...
Is there only one way to kill a rat? No, exactly. Collecting data, again, you can see what works within the context of where your hardware is. Because what works in the hardware that is in Kisumu will definitely not work in the hardware that is in Kakamega, okay? And there are different ways you can do it. You can do a friendly question without it having to be a document. You can just ask someone, but how old are you? Like, oh, okay, that's cool, good to see you. Kuna bibi? As you give them their receipt. You could decide to go the formal way. You could decide to go SMS way. Send an SMS blast, reply if you want to participate. So there are many ways you can harvest the data, okay? As long as you know what data that you want. If, for example, you want to know the most popular cement brand in the area, how do you harvest that data? You look at your sales reports. So you don't need to bother anyone, just go to your sales reports and you'll get the data that you have. If you want to know the most preferred time for people to come and do bulk buying in the hardware, again, just go to your sales analysis. It'll give you the data that you need to know. So there's different ways you can get whatever data that you want.
Yeah, maybe just add some emphasis on what you said about different ways of collecting data. I happen to work with a certain politician. We had an approach whereby we wanted to collect data of different people, different potential voters. Of course, it was not the right method here in Kenya because the guy was from the US. Because here, most people don't really go that direction, go to find the usual public and all that.
Yeah, I know guys are trying to guess who it is. Carry on.
Basically, what happened, sometimes we could go into meetings and like a bit well-organized meeting, let's say a crowd of 100 people, and you remove your paper, you give out to people, you tell them, just write here your name and your person, your number and your name. So what is in their minds is, this guy is going to send us money through your test. So everyone rushes to fill in that form, and they even fill the forms of the family. Relatives, before you know, a group of 100 people has given you contacts of almost 200 people. And your purpose is just to spread awareness and do the targeted ads and all that. Another technique, last one, he had a card, a business card. So back in the village, whenever I see the business card and they see the number of Meshimiwa, they know, I have Meshimiwa's number. Because the contact has been diverted to wherever he's not going to go through. These people will keep calling. Whoever calls, they're asking him, what's your name? Where do you come from? Where's your polling station? Okay, tell us your issue. That way we capture a lot of content. So I think it's all about creativity and what really you need.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Please give him a hand. That's brilliant. Yes, Norman.
I think just to also reiterate on the data conversation. I think with every analytics naturally follows business intelligence. So whatever your purpose is with the data, it will tell you what data to gather, and it will tell you what to gather next.
All right. Yeah, so I was going to say, Norman is a data scientist. He's done business intelligence. I used to do this for us, actually, at Airtel back in the day. So if you need more information about it, talk to him before he goes back to Dubai, because he only came to see me. So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I think this has been fun. We could do this the whole night, but I don't want to be the person standing between you and your Saturday morning hangover. Yeah?
Another case we've not talked about is the fact that the top management doesn't let marketers wins fair. Worked in an organization where, like,
The top management doesn't let your wings fly as a marketer.
don't get to explore your potential. Like, if you come up with an idea, first of all, if they feel it's way above the budget, it's shut down. If they don't resonate with the idea, it's shut down because they've conditioned themselves with going with the way they've been doing their marketing. Because it's been working for them. Even if it's working right now 10%, for them that's okay. The change that you were telling us to embrace, the top management has to embrace as well for us to work together.
Yeah, that's true. And I think at that point, for me, it becomes more of a career conversation. It's no longer a marketing conversation, okay? Unless your grandfather owns the company, there are some battles you'll never win. As a marketer, the best you can do is to try and convince, is to try and win the people over. If they refuse, don't kill yourself. You know, I always tell teams I lead, you in that office and the chair you sit on, you fall on different sides of the balance sheet. You know that, okay? One is classified as an asset. The other one is not. You are the other one, okay? So you do your job. If you think this is the right thing, go and argue your case, try and convince. And I think it's a skill marketers we also need to have. You know, stakeholder management, convincing, winning over people, getting guys to allow you to do your experiments. But at the end of the day, if they've refused, like in my case, they insisted they had to put up a printing press, I let them do it.
But now, if the product or the service doesn't sell, it's again your problem.
Yeah, you work there, right? All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll hand this back to Victor. Yes.
There's another strategy that I've noticed most of the time you guys embrace is the incentive campaigns.
Uh-huh.
Why do I have to incentivize people for them to be loyal to my brand? The moment I remove that voucher or the discount or the offer from my product, the sales go down.
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah, the sales will go down as they should because you are not selling products, you're buying customers by giving, just give them what they want. They'll come back.
Just play a psychological mind game with them. You see, if you tell someone this thing is 700, and you tell this person this thing is 699, at a one at 699.
You know, this is a very sweet conversation. This is like a 3-hour discussion. And you're right. Steve Jobs perfected that art. And you guys, you also know about the decoy effect in marketing, okay? All right? You know the decoy effect. I want you to buy this, but I'll put 2 products alongside it that will make you think this is the best value, okay? So yeah, but loyalty, don't buy your customers. Because what you are doing by giving them vouchers, you're really buying them. And they were coming for that. When you take it away, they go where now the real solution to their need is. So give them that solution to begin with.
In this case, they know you're giving them solution, and you're giving them value.
Mm-hmm.
But the incentive thing has really gotten them to a point that they know they're getting value. But without the incentive,
Yeah.
It comes in, like, marketing has evolved. Yeah? Especially where we're working with influencers, you know, you really can't, like, today you give an influencer a product to market. How can you quantify that, you know, this influencer actually got you real customers? So one way, that is especially for Jumia, would be to give them coupons. Then you can know David as an influencer has been able to get so many conversions. So I really think it's a question of the evolution of marketing.
And I think now to what you're saying, okay? So if I use e-commerce, Jumia as an example, okay? And what is your business problem? Business problem is I don't have as many people coming as I would want them to do. So you need to answer the why. The why cannot be vouchers. There's a reason why they don't come to Jumia, they go to Glovo. What is that reason? What is the problem I need to solve? And then get the most appropriate solution for it. Okay. If today, unfortunately, even petrol stations have started giving points. But before they did that, there's a reason why you're always fueling at Oil Libya. Okay? Without a coupon. Why are you always here, not Total and not Shell? Okay? There's something you're doing to me. That's why I like, and these guys are not doing that to me. Okay? Media house owners, I always ask them, take something like Kibaki's burial, okay? This is a day where all stations are showing the same things, but their ratings are not the same. Yeah. Why? You need to answer that question. It will fix your weekday ratings. Okay? Can I sit now? I'm also thirsty. I need some water. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'll see you again at the next Marketers Hangout.
Thank you, Alovi. Another round of applause. I know you'll agree with me, that's like a master class. I should be giving you guys certificates after this. Yeah, hey, we have learned a lot. What? Good thing it's being recorded. Hey. So I'll share the recording after this. So thank you, Alovi. Thank you, engaged audience. You've raised so many questions, some which I was asking myself. I found solutions. Some of the questions raised about marketers just being what? Like pawn players. There's usually a famous statement that they say that if you don't have a seat at the table, what do? So you bring your own table. So that's what some marketers have done. Some have joined that C-suite. And it's nice that you've asked because the next event we have brings those C-suite guys together. So we have marketers who've actually gotten to the corner office. So we usually have what is known as the Marketing CEOs Roundtable. So the marketers who've made it to the corner office sit down, it's a panel discussion, and the questions you have, you can be able to ask them. How did they get there? Some of the things that Alovi said with regards to understanding. As marketers, we hate math. Sindio? The profit margins, P&L, we hate that. But that's a reality that we need to embrace, that for you to probably get there, we either have to hire somebody or find something to do with it. So I can't thank you enough for coming this evening. To be honest, this discussion usually go up until 10 or even 11. So thank you for taking your time to be here. For most of you, it's your first time, so we usually have events like this every month. So for the next 3 months, we'll be having back-to-back events. So the next session on June 3rd, we have the Marketing CEOs Roundtable. And then in July, we'll have the Women in Marketing session. So I hope to see you there. And bring your friends. One of the things we usually say is, as a club, we are trying to grow the industry. Pretty sure where you work, some of you are heads of marketing departments. Why don't you tag along your teammates? We want to grow the whole industry. You change organizations. You leave other people behind. You are in school with some people. Whenever there is a marketing event, why don't you let them know about it? Why don't you tag them along? So mine is just to encourage you to be more proactive in the industry. I want to encourage the ones who've been there before. Please write more, blog more. There are many avenues of sharing this knowledge. So please do your bit in the marketing industry. We can all learn from each other. Ni hayo tu kwa church. I want to thank the guys who've made this possible. You said about event. Yes, so we have sponsors for this event. Purple Market, they've made really nice name tags. I think I'll go hang mine somewhere. I've seen some of you taking photos with them. Yeah, you can keep them as souvenirs. Capital One, Paul, the MC, flew all the way from Uganda. Say, well, to be here. Thank you for that. As well as everybody else who's been able to make this event a success. Asanteni sana. I want to hand the mic over to the MC.
All right. Another big hand for Vic and also for Levi. So this is a social experiment. I'd like all of you guys to get your phones out. Go to your cameras. Take a selfie with yourself or someone next to you. Take a selfie first. Let's do this. For those without smartphones, please try and be in a photo. Yeah? Okay. All right, so go to your phone or go to your albums, whatever it is. For the ladies, you can go ahead to filters. For the gents, you can go straight. Okay, for the ladies, you can take another photo and choose from the 10 that you've taken. Yeah. So go to Twitter. I hope all of us are on Twitter. I know TikTok is a problem for who? Oh, for all of us, eh? Okay. So go to Twitter, and I'd like you to post something about today's event. Say something. I enjoyed my time. I learned so much. I met X number of people, and tag TMC. I hope you have TMC's account. All right. Tag Alovi Andrew. That's at Alovi Andrew. ALOVIA Andrew. All right. And you tag at Top Marketers 1. 1, the number 1. All right, so tag Alovi Andrew and at Top Marketers 1, the number 1. All right, and you can tweet, and you can also follow the discussion that was going on today evening with Capital One Group and Purple Dot Market. All right, so I hope we can do that. It's a social experiment, but we won't forget tonight, all right? With that, I guess we'll close. I'll just request someone to give us a word of prayer. The other gentleman in white, he's our second angel to close, to pray and close for us today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let us bow our heads and pray. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come before you. Once again, we want to bless your name. We want to glorify you, for you are good. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity to meet and interact with our fellow marketers, Jehovah Lord. We thank you, Father, King for glory, for enabling us to just be here, to be able to interact, to be able to listen, to be able to learn, to also be able to, King for glory, come together and share where we want to be tomorrow. Father, we pray and dedicate ourselves and our ambitions unto you, that King for glory shall find us, you shall lead us, and you shall be able to guide our routes and our ways. Father, this weekend, as we break, Jehovah Lord, we pray that you're going to be with us, that, Father, you're going to do things that bring glory to your name. and that, Father, King for glory, you shall keep us safe, you shall protect us, and Father, you shall be able to just glorify your name through us. In Jesus' name, we do pray, believe and trust.